Jake Morrison sat in seat 12F, his worn leather jacket showing years of hard living. His son Tommy, barely 7 years old, clutched a battered Model F-16 fighter jet in his small hands. The boy's curly hair needed cutting, and his red hoodie had seen better days. But his eyes sparkled as he made swooshing sounds, flying the toy through imaginary skies. Across the aisle, a woman in a crisp white blouse glanced their way, then quickly looked away. Jake noticed. He'd gotten used to those looks over the past 2 years. The looks that said he didn't belong in this world of business travelers and vacation-goers. The dirt under his fingernails from his construction job. The frayed edges of his jeans. The exhaustion that no amount of sleep could fix. "Dad, watch this," Tommy whispered, making the jet do a barrel roll. "Just like you used to do, right?" Jake's throat tightened. "That's right, buddy." Just like that. The flight attendant came by with a beverage cart. She smiled at the woman across the aisle, offering her the full menu. When she reached Jake and Tommy, her smile faded slightly. "Drinks." "Just water for us, please," Jake said quietly. Tommy looked up at him with those understanding eyes that no 7-year-old should have. He knew money was tight. He never asked for soda anymore, never complained about the peanut butter sandwiches for lunch every day, never mentioned that other kids had new shoes while his were held together with super glue. "Dad, tell me again about when you flew," Tommy said, his voice full of wonder. Jake pulled his son closer. "Well, I wasn't always a construction worker, Tommy. Once upon a time, your old man was a fighter pilot. They called me Ghost because I could disappear into the clouds and appear where the enemy least expected." The woman across the aisle shifted uncomfortably. Jake lowered his voice, not wanting to disturb anyone. He knew how these stories sounded. A broke single dad claiming he used to fly fighter jets. "Sure, I was part of an elite squadron," Jake continued, speaking just for Tommy now. "We protected our country. We flew missions that most people will never know about. It was the proudest time of my life." "Why did you stop?" Tommy asked, though he'd heard this story before. "Because something more important came along," Jake said, kissing the top of his son's head. When your mom got sick, I had to make a choice. The military life meant being away for months. She needed me. You needed me. So I came home." Tommy was quiet for a moment. "Mom would be proud of you, Dad." Jake blinked hard. "I hope so, buddy. I hope so." 2 years ago, cancer had taken Sarah. The medical bills had taken everything else. Their savings. Their house. Jake's pride. He'd moved them into a small apartment on the wrong side of town, taken whatever work he could find. Construction. Night shifts at a warehouse. Anything to keep Tommy fed, clothed, and safe. This flight was an extravagance they couldn't afford. But Tommy's grandmother, Sarah's mother, was turning 80. She lived across the country and hadn't seen Tommy in over a year. Jake had scraped together every penny, cashed in what little remained of his savings, to buy these tickets. They'd be eating rice and beans for the next 2 months, but it was worth it to see the joy on Tommy's face. The plane hit turbulence, and Tommy grabbed his dad's hand. "It's okay," Jake soothed. "Just a little bumpy air. Nothing to worry about." Behind them, 2 men in civilian clothes were having a quiet conversation. Both had military haircuts, that unmistakable bearing that Jake recognized instantly. Fellow servicemen or former ones. One of them, a man in his 50s with graying temples, leaned forward slightly. "Excuse me," he said to Jake. "I couldn't help but overhear. Did you say your call sign was Ghost?" Jake turned, surprised. "Yes, sir. Long time ago now." The man's eyes widened. "Ghost Morrison? From the 57th Fighter Squadron?" Jake nodded slowly. "That's right." The second man, younger but with the same military bearing, sat up straighter. "Sir, are you the Ghost Morrison who flew in Operation Desert Falcon?" "I am," Jake said quietly, aware that other passengers were starting to listen. The older man stood up, and before Jake could react, he snapped to attention and saluted. "Sir, it's an honor. Captain Rick Donovan, retired. I flew support missions in your operation." The younger man stood as well, also saluting. Major Scott Patterson, currently with the 18th Fighter Wing. Sir, they still tell stories about your missions in flight school. You're a legend. Jake, embarrassed, started to wave him off. But Captain Donovan wasn't having it. With respect, sir, you saved my squadron's lives during Desert Falcon. We were pinned down, outgunned. You came in so low and so fast that the enemy never saw you coming. You took out their positions, gave us time to evacuate 6 wounded men. I wouldn't be here without you. Other passengers were watching now. The woman across the aisle had uncrossed her arms. Her expression transformed. Sir, what are you doing in seat 12F? Major Patterson asked, confused. Why aren't you in first class? Jake glanced at Tommy, then back at the officers. Things change. Life throws curveballs. I'm just trying to be the best dad I can be. Captain Donovan understood immediately. He'd seen it too many times. Heroes who came home to find that military service didn't translate to civilian success. Men who'd given everything for their country, only to struggle to make ends meet afterward. Flight attendant. Donovan called out. When she arrived, he said firmly, this man and his son need to be moved to first class immediately. Sir, those seats are full, she replied. Then I'm giving him mine, Donovan said, and I'm sure the major here agrees. Absolutely, Patterson nodded. No, I can't, Jake protested. You don't have to do that. Sir, with respect, you don't get to say no to a superior officer, Donovan said with a slight smile. Besides, it's not just us. He turned to address the passengers around them. This man is Jake Morrison, called Sign Ghost. He flew some of the most dangerous missions in modern military history. He saved countless lives, including mine. He gave up his career to care for his family. If anyone deserves a little comfort on this flight, it's him and his son. A businessman in row 11 stood up. I'd like to buy their in-flight meals. A woman 3 rows back raised her hand. Put their drinks on my tab. The woman across the aisle, the one who'd looked away earlier, reached into her purse. Please, she said to Jake, tears in her eyes. Let me help. My brother served. He didn't come home. Thank you for your service. Jake was overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. Tommy tugged his father's jacket. Dad, say thank you. Jake laughed, wiping his eyes. Thank you. All of you. You have no idea what this means. As they gathered their few belongings to move to first class, Captain Donovan put a hand on Jake's shoulder. Sir, do you need work? Jake paused. Always. Why? I run a private security consulting firm. We train law enforcement and military units in tactical operations. I could use someone with your experience. The pay is good. The hours are reasonable. You'd be home for your son every night. Are you serious? Jake could barely breathe. Dead serious. Give me a call when you land. Donovan handed him a business card. We take care of our own, Ghost. Should have happened sooner. As Jake and Tommy settled into the spacious first-class seats, Tommy looked up at his father with shining eyes. Dad, you really are a hero. Jake pulled his son close. No, buddy. I'm just a man who loves his kid. You're the hero for being so patient with me while I figure things out. The flight attendant brought them hot towels, warm cookies, and genuine smiles. The businessman from row 11 came by to shake Jake's hand. The woman who'd looked away earlier stopped to apologize, to thank him, to share a story about her brother. Jake realized something as the plane climbed toward cruising altitude. He'd spent 2 years feeling invisible, feeling like he'd lost everything that made him who he was. But he'd been wrong. His identity wasn't his uniform or his call sign or his past missions. It was in the little boy beside him, the one who looked at him like he hung the moon. It was in the sacrifices he'd made for love. It was in showing up every single day, even when it was hard. Tommy fell asleep against his shoulder, the model jet still clutched in his hands. Jake looked out the window at the clouds below, remembering when he used to fly through them at supersonic speeds. That life was gone. But maybe, just maybe, a new one was beginning. Sometimes, Jake thought, the bravest thing a person can do isn't flying into danger. It's getting up every morning to love and protect someone who depends on you. It's choosing family over glory. It's keeping going when everything in you wants to quit. As the plane descended hours later, Jake felt lighter than he had in years. He had a job prospect. He had people who saw him. And he had his son, safe and loved. That was enough. That was everything. Thank you for listening. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to hear more stories of everyday heroes. And leave a comment telling us about someone who inspires you. Your support means everything.